What's going on, guys? This is Tower number 9, and this is a new video here with a quick tier list for the bases in Star Wars Unlimited. So this topic was suggested to me by Thork, who is I think channel viewers may have actually seen him playing a few of the games here on the channel. In some of the gameplay videos, but he suggested doing a tier list for bases since they've all been previewed now. Um, and I should clarify, not all the actual base cards have been previewed, in that I believe there is going to be two 30 HP bases for each aspect, or each of the neutral aspects in the first set, Spark of Rebellion. However, for each of those aspects, one of the bases is going to be there are going to be three total bases. One is going to be the 25 HP epic action base, and then there's going to be two 30 HP bases with different themes. And we don't know what they all are. They're not all on here. We just have one 30 HP base for each side. But for instance, this what's it called here? So like right here we have the command center, which is the Death Star command center, 30 HP base for command. There is also an Echo base. There's an Echo base on Hoth uh base that is also a 30 HP command base, and I think that's kind of more for a thematic element, so that if you have like a rebel deck, you don't have to unthematically have your base be the Death Star. You can have your base be Hoth. It doesn't have to be something that isn't thematic in order to get the right base. So they're kind of adding those extra bases for the 30 HP versions that have just a different trait, different name, and it's sort of a thematic thing. I believe somebody said there was I think I saw on Discord earlier there was a claim that the base traits don't matter. There's nothing that's going to synergize with like Death Star bases or whatever, at least for now. At least in set one. So, with that in mind, let's move on to the tier list. So we'll start off here with the Security Complex. This is a base that says a 25 HP Vigilance base, and it has an epic action to give a shield token to a non-leader unit. Is the like where are we at on the Security Complex? I would say I personally would put I don't know. So the Security Complex, I think, of the 25 HP bases is one of the weaker ones. I don't think it's terrible though. It's relatively easy to use. We're gonna say this ends up we're gonna say this is like, I don't know. Let's put this at about a C tier. We're gonna look at the Dagobah Swamp, 30 HP Vigilance base. We're also gonna put that in the C tier. So basically, I think there is in the current aggro meta, I actually think there is reason to play Dagobah Swamp instead of Security Complex. Security Complex is one of the less impactful bases, and the Dagobah Swamp's 5 extra HP might be important. That said, neither of these is really thrilling to me. We're going to go to the Energy Conversion Lab. Energy Conversion Lab, I'm going to put here in the A tier. I would almost put it in the S tier. I think this is probably the best base in the game. I think it's really, really good. Epic action, play a unit that costs 6 or less from your hand and give it ambush for this phase. So one of the places where we've most seen this base in use is the classic Energy Conversion Lab Super Laser Technician combo, which allows you to ambush a unit with the Super Laser Technician and turn that Super Laser Technician into a ready resource on the same turn that you play it. This is really strong, really, really good combo for the command villainy builds. Thork, actually, the person who suggested this video, has kind of popularized that tactic with his Darth Vader play. So I think that's a strong ability for the Energy Conversion Lab, and a substantial reason to recommend it. Yeah, but it doesn't stop there. Like, if you're playing a command Luke deck, you can ambush in Kanan. If you're playing, an Imperial deck that doesn't have Super Laser Technician and you don't draw it, you can ambush an ATST. There's so many good ambush targets. It's really easy to get a lot of value from the space. It's really easy to have powerful surprise plays, and some of the best plays with it are like not immediately apparent. So the thing about ambush is that you can choose when it resolves. If you have when played effects and also ambushes. You can resolve those in the order that you like. So I actually just uploaded today's daily gameplay video. I believe it's still processing, and I'm not sure which video will actually finish first because this one's going to be shorter. But I had a move in one of those games where I ambushed in a fleet lieutenant. I used the fleet lieutenant's when played ability to attack with Luke before I resolved the ambush. I used Luke's on attack ability to shield the fleet lieutenant. Then I resolved the attack from the fleet lieutenant to attack and defeat an enemy fleet lieutenant with ambush. Or maybe it was a battlefield marine, but there was an enemy 3/3 that I cleared with my ambush, and because I had been shielded by Luke, I could control. I was not defeated myself, so that was really strong. Another really classic strong play is if you're playing green Boba. You can ambush in the 7th Fleet Defender to attack and defeat a Green Squadron A-Wing, and you can choose to resolve ambush before shielded, so you end up doing taking 1 damage in return and then putting up your shield. So you're left with 1 life, but you still have the shield, so it'll probably take 2 hits to defeat you. Another really strong play. There are a ton of ways to use this thing. It's really, really good. I would say it is probably my favorite base in the game right now. It, I'm not entirely sure. My instinct right now is to say that this is so good that if you're playing the 30 HP base, you're just wrong. And that you can basically always get 5 or more HP of value out of the energy conversion lab. I don't say that for certain, but that's currently my impression. As a result, the command center is going to be, I think, the only D tier base because 30 HP command, not saying so 30 HP and 30 HP in principle, these are the same, but you have to consider not just what the base itself does, but also the trade-off that you're doing. And so, like in this case, the command center, if you're running the command center, you're not running the energy conversion lab. And that, in my opinion, is a worse decision than running Dagobah Swamp, which means not running security complex. So we're going to put the command center here in D tier. Echo base, which is basically the same thing, but with different fluff, would also be a D tier base, unfortunately, for Echo base fans. Okay, so now we're going to move on. Echo Base has cool art, though. I will say that it's a good looking card. But we are ranking by gameplay quality and not by art. Next up, we have Tarkin Town. Tarkin Town, I'm going to put in B tier. I think it's very good. Don't get me wrong, but I think it is not quite on the same level as the Energy Conversion Lab. I think it's a very solid base. I do recommend it. I again think that if you're playing a red deck, you should almost certainly be playing Tarkin Town. So this one has an epic action to deal 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit. Just gives you that extra reach, allows you to defeat an enemy unit that was damaged but not defeated. Works really well with direct damage effects, so Darth Vader's ping can be really good. Works really well to counter units that require being damaged. So if the opponent's playing grit units, if the opponent is playing Fifth Brother, if the opponent is using Grand Inquisitor to damage and ready their stuff, works really well in those situations. The one downside I would say with Tarkin Town is that if you're in a situation where units are not really clashing necessarily, you can sometimes get into a scenario where you don't get an opportunity to use it. On the other hand, I do think it's very good. It's the only base that I would say is at a similar level to Energy Conversion Lab, but ultimately I'm going to put it as a little weaker, just because Energy Conversion Lab strikes me as kind of the standout even here. Catacombs of Cadera, the 30 HP aggression base. We're going to put this in C tier. I don't think it's as crazy to play it. I don't think it's if someone's running this, I don't think they're necessarily playing it wrong, but I think that overall, I think in most cases you should probably be playing Target Town. Maybe this should be in D tier, but above Command Center. I don't know. It's like bottom of C or top of D for me. I do not think you should play this base. I think you should be playing Tarkin Town. Tarkin Town's really good, but I think that I could maybe see some scenario where it's like, oh, well, I'm running some kind, I want the 5 HP for extra stuff against aggro, and I have no intention to damage units at all. But like even then, the opponent might damage your units when trading. I don't know. I think this is a weaker base, but maybe not on the same level as Command Center. So we'll leave it bottom of C here. Next up, we're going to have Jetta City. Jetta City, epic action, give a non-leader unit -4 power for this phase. I'm gonna put this over here in C tier. I think this is probably the weakest of the. I think this is probably the weakest of the epic action bases. Relative to Security Complex, Jetta City's upside is probably higher, but there are a lot of situations where you just don't get an opportunity to get very much value with it, or you can use it to get value, but it's something relatively minor, like, oh, now my one drop can defeat this other one drop, and not take retaliation damage, which is okay, but it also has unfavorable timing to some degree because you have to use this action to debuff the unit, and then they have an opportunity to do other stuff before you make a potential attack. I'm not loving it. I'm not a big Jetta City fan. I have played it. I do play it in some decks. But I think that of the epic action bases, it may be the worst. Although this is also skewed by the fact that I've been playing aggro a lot when I've been playing it, and I do think it's worse for aggro. The main scenario where it's good for aggro is if the opponent plays like a big sentinel or something, you can use this on it and then have your units attack and clear it. That's decent, but it doesn't come up that often. And there are also a lot of other answers to sentinels at this phase. I do think if you're playing more of a mid-range type deck, it can get better. So, like, for instance, if I were playing like double yellow, if I were playing like double cunning boba right now, I probably would run Jetta City. But I think for my current Sabine Cunning deck, I actually have switched to the Administrator's Tower just to improve my matchup against other aggro, which could be wrong. We'll have to see. But I would rather have the extra 5 HP for the race there. I do think, though, if you're going for a more mid-range or control-oriented strategy, Jetta City might be a good base for you. We'll have to see. Also, I could easily be wrong about these assessments. So then we're going to put Administrator's Tower also here in the C tier. And I'll note that I actually prefer Administrator's Tower to Jedi City in my current Cunning Sabine. And Dagobah Swamp, I actually also run instead of Security Complex in my current double blue Luke. Um, so overall, I would say we have Energy Conversion Lab as a huge standout, Tarkin Town as like also a big standout, but not quite on the same level. And then Security Complex and Jetta City as kind of the weaker epic action bases, probably still stronger, but probably still stronger than the 30 HP bases, but in the current aggro meta, I think there's more of an argument for the 30 HP bases when this is what you're when these two are what you're trading for. It's possible that we should actually change this tier list and go like this. Um, or something like that. But I don't really feel comfortable. So like S tier is commonly considered broken, and I don't feel comfortable saying that the energy conversion lab is broken. I think the energy conversion lab is very good. I think it's probably the best base in the game, but it doesn't feel like you're wrong if you're playing any deck that doesn't have the energy conversion lab or whatever. It's certainly very good, and it is an upside to playing a command based deck, but it does not feel essential. And I've had times where Tarkentown has felt, maybe stronger. Honestly, I've even had times where Jetta City or Security Complex has felt like just crucial. All of the epic action bases are quite good. And that's kind of the other message that you'll see with this tier list is you'll note that we have the four epic action bases kind of at the front, followed by the four 30 HP bases. In general, I think you should probably be playing an epic action base in this game. I think it's just a stronger thing to have a relevant ability kind of in your back pocket. The 5 life doesn't always matter. A lot of games are going to be decided by a margin where 5 HP doesn't make the difference. However, if you're really interested in getting that extra gas against aggro, I do think there's an argument for the Administrator's Tower or Dagobah Swamp, maybe even the Catacombs of Cadera, where you're trading off against a relatively weaker effect. So that's my thoughts on the bases in this game, at least in Spark of Rebellion, based on what's previewed. That could easily change as we see more stuff. Maybe there are going to be effects that somehow scale with base HP in a way that makes the larger HP bases more relevant. Maybe we're going to see, or it's something that's based on the amount that you have remaining, or I don't know exactly what we'll see. We could also see a shift. If we see a shift towards a less aggressive meta, then these maybe slightly weaker 25 HP bases will probably become more like stronger options relative to the 30 HP ones, because a 30 HP base is kind of saying that you want to have you're okay with sacrificing that epic action in order to have extra base HP to try to get you more time to stabilize against aggro. In particular, that's where it tends to be most relevant. And if aggro diminishes, then the value of a 30 HP base will probably diminish as well. Okay, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thanks to you all for watching. Feel free to debate me or tell me I'm a clown or whatever in the video description below if you don't like my tier list or my evaluation of these bases. But these are just my thoughts. Obviously, we're very early. I could easily be wrong, and interested to hear what you guys think as well. So thanks to you all for watching, and we will be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. I will catch you guys later.